An exhibition about African fashion at London's Victoria and Albert Museum has been attended by His Majesty King Charles III and the Queen Consort. It's thought to be the most extensive show of African fashion ever and tells the history of the continent's clothing, along with displaying work by contemporary designers.
We really see fashion as a catalyst with which to tell deeper, richer, expanded stories about the myriad histories and cultures across the continent. And so we hope that our visitors will come away feeling inspired, and perhaps some assumptions might be challenged as well.
Charles and Camilla met African designers and fashion leaders who, along with work reflecting the ending of colonial rule in parts of the continent, included modern creations which are now inspiring designers around the world.
African art, African creativity has inspired many, many designers across the globe, and I think that that continues. It was really important and actually vital to have this exhibition right now, because we see it's the African creatives that are shifting the landscape of global fashions. That's how important their impact is right now. So they demand to be seen, they demand to be heard, and we see their impact spilling out across global fashions.
Over 250 objects are on display, including 70 new acquisitions for the museum. It comes as the V&A hopes to increase its collection of work by contemporary African designers as well as those from the past.
My piece is based on two garments that come from two different cultures. The first one is the British culture, which is the trench coat. And the second one is the burqa, that is also very profound in Morocco and all the Arab countries. And Morocco, as far as we know, it's the North Africa. And I decided to make a dialogue between both of them and to give a respect to two countries.
Africa fashion reflects periods when many African nations freed themselves from colonial rule, but includes clothes by 40 contemporary designers. It runs until April the 16th, 2023. Foreign ministers from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda arrived at the Angolan presidency on Saturday for a fresh round of diplomatic talks amid rising tensions in eastern DRC. Angolan President João Lourenço was appointed by the African Union as a mediator for the talks between DRC's Christophe Lutundula and Vincent Biruta from Rwanda. Tensions have been particularly high between Kinshasa and Kigali since the resurgence of the March 23rd movement late last year. The former Tutsi rebellion group took up arms, accusing Kinshasa of failing to respect agreements on the demobilization of its fighters. Kinshasa accuses Rwanda of supporting this rebellion, a claim Kigali systematically denies. But the eastern DRC region has been plagued for nearly 3 decades by violence from armed groups, many of them born out of the wars that occurred there in the wake of the 1994 Rwandan genocide. Efforts had already been made in Rwanda to try and normalize relations between the two neighbors in July. According to the UN, the fighting between the FARDC and the M23 has displaced some 50,000 people since the 20th of October, of whom 12,000 have taken refuge in Uganda. Environmentalists are outraged that the remains of the ancient hamlet of Lützerath in western Germany will soon be demolished, along with a wind farm to expand a nearby coal mine. Kenyan environmentalist Elizabeth Wathuti visited Germany's Garzweiler coal mine with other activists last month ahead of COP27.
I've been very overwhelmed to see what is happening right behind me, because for me this is what is killing people in my continent. This is what is devastating lives and livelihoods of frontline communities that are most affected by the climate crisis.
Wathuti described the United Nations conference as the African COP, explaining that whatever is agreed there directly impacts millions of people on the continent, especially women.
The current drought situation is affecting millions, and by millions I mean over 2 million people specifically in northeastern are facing the climate-related starvation, and across the Horn of Africa we have over 20 million people, and mostly it's the women and the children that are on the front line. They're the ones that are greatly affected. They are the ones who have to walk for long distances without food and water, and also our ecosystems also have been greatly impacted.
However, she says she has little faith the leaders attending the summit will commit to any of the pledges made on environmental issues.
It should be the African COP, because the voices, the needs and the present priorities of the African continent are actually going to reflect in the outcome. But we are not seeing that kind of leadership. All we are seeing is leaders saying what they will do in international conferences, but then when they are off the stage, they do something different that is continuing to devastate communities.
COP27 is scheduled to take place in the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh between the 6th and 18th of November. Senegal's main opposition leader Ousmane Sonko has appeared in a Dakar court over rape accusations, with his lawyer calling the case a state conspiracy that should be dropped. His arrest in March 2021 led to deadly riots, and Sonko insists the claims are entirely false. The senior judge asked me, do I recognize that I had relations with the lady? He says. I told him, I don't allow you to ask me such questions. When a conspiracy case is so clear with evidence and you have no evidence, I do not allow you, given the status I have, because in 16 months I aspire to be the president of Senegal. I do not allow you, Mr. Judge, to ask me this kind of question. Thursday's hearing in the Senegalese capital lasted 3 hours. A large security presence was deployed throughout the city, particularly around Sonko's home and the court building. But Sonko has refused to take a DNA test. Would I accept samples for a DNA test? He said to reporters. I said, but are you okay? In there, are you okay? You have no proof. You put absolutely nothing, and you want me to give my blood to the plotters? The authorities deny any misuse of state institutions in the case against Sonko, who came third in the 2019 presidential election and plans to run again in 2024. Thousands of protesters in Mali held a rally on Friday organized by the High Islamic Council of Mali. The demonstration was in response to a social network video in which insulting remarks were made about Islam and a man trampled on a copy of the Quran. Although the government has condemned the video, many Muslims remain furious. There are people who have blasphemed our prophet, he says, our religion, our holy book, the Quran, and our holy place, the Kaaba. That's why we went out to say that we don't agree with that. We only want our rights, she says. We must not blaspheme our prophet, our Allah, because it is our priority. We ask God that those who have done these acts may be punished in an exemplary way before the whole world. We tell our authorities to take their responsibilities. It is true that Mali is a secular country, but we are more numerous than all other religions. 95% of Mali's population is Muslim, and organizers of the protest have claimed over 1 million people took to the streets around Independence Boulevard in Bamako.